Are we live? I've never done this before. Let me try to get the lighting better. Give me a minute. Give me a minute. I'm going to set up some better lighting for you guys. All right, that's better. So I'm never live, but I wanted to try it out today. It's a special day. We're passing 300,000 subscribers on the channel. And it's going to happen probably in the next 5 to 10 minutes. I'm really excited about it. Let's see where we're at right now. Right now we are at 299, 989. So we're 11 subscribers short. We have over 200 people in the chat, and the chat is flying. Thank you guys for being here. I appreciate it. Shine Ung has been a subscriber since 430 subscribers. That's incredible. How many people have been here before 100,000? Because the channel passed 100,000 about a year ago. Actually, about 10 months ago. Gurjian has been a subscriber since 11,000. That's crazy. You guys are awesome. I really appreciate all your support. I mean, I would not be here doing my dream job if it weren't for you guys. I mean, you guys make this all possible. And I feel like I don't say it enough how much I appreciate every single person who watches my videos. I just can't express it enough, and I don't say it enough. So I wanted to come on today and just make it super clear that I really appreciate you guys from the bottom of my heart. Your support means everything to me. I've been obsessed with Apple since I was probably 12 years old. And I have this picture I'm going to show you guys when I was in high school. And that was about 9 years ago. I used to have a ponytail, okay? This is me. I don't know if you can, that's me. Hold on, let me turn the brightness down. That's me with a ponytail with my 2008 MacBook and my Steve Jobs long sleeve black shirt. Actually, this shirt has an Apple logo on it, but you can't see it because the computer's covering it. I was obsessed. Oh, here we go. You can see it in this one. There's the Apple logo shirt that my mom got me for Christmas. That was 2009. And then look at this one. So I used to work as a lifeguard in a swimming pool. And I had that's me messing around with the, that's like an air compressor. the classic vintage rainbow Apple logo t-shirt. Did we just pass 300,000 while I was talking about stupid stuff? Oh, we just did it. Woo, that's awesome, you guys. Awesome. 300,001. I wonder who the 300,001 person was. That is incredible. Oh my gosh. That is so exciting. Thank you guys so much. I really appreciate it. Do you guys have any questions? Let's do like a little Q&A here because I never do Q&As, so you guys may have some questions for me. Thank you guys, I really appreciate it. Why is the Apple stand worth $1,000? I'm happy, I'm glad you brought that up. The next video I make, I'm working on it as we speak. It's going to be called, Why is Apple Selling a $1,000 Stand? And I'm going to explore that topic in great detail, and I think you're going to be happy with it. How old am I? How old do you think I am? Let's take some guesses. How do I come up with video ideas? I keep up on all of the Apple news, all the tech news, and I sort of ask myself, what am I wondering? What questions do I have about Apple or about technology in general at the moment? And then I sort of make video ideas based on that, and I do it based on you guys. I mean, in the comments, you guys suggest videos a lot, which I really appreciate. I have 30, 30, 27, 41, 23 or 24, 28. I'm actually 26. I'm 26. Will I ever get Android? You know what I was thinking about doing? I was thinking about buying an Android device used, getting a good deal, and then using it for like a month and just setting my iPhone down and then really getting the full experience of Android, because I've never used an Android device as my main phone. So that might be something I might do, but I would never switch to Android. I just love the Apple ecosystem way too much. I am subscribed to PewDiePie. The personal Mac that I use is a 2017 MacBook Pro 15-inch. I live in the US. I'm from Ohio. My first Apple product was the 5th generation iPod, also called the iPod Video. I was actually saving up my money for, I think, 2 years to buy it. And that was also the same time a new RoboSapien came out. I don't know if you guys know what the RoboSapien was, but it was this like robot toy. And the RoboSapien V2 was released at the same time, around the same time as the 5th gen iPod. So when I went to Circuit City, I don't know if you guys know what Circuit City is, but it used to be kind of like a Best Buy. They're out of business now. But I remember walking into Circuit City and seeing the 5th gen iPod here and the RoboSapien V2 here, and then making a decision because they were about the same price. And I ended up going with the iPod, and that was the best decision. I fell in love with Apple ever since. Is Apple paying me? I wish. I am not affiliated with Apple in any way. I am just a big fan. Did I buy the first iPhone? I didn't buy it when it first came out. Actually, my first iPhone was the iPhone 5. I was with a sliding phone until the iPhone 5. But I did buy the original iPhone. I don't know if you can see it right here. I bought the original iPhone about a year ago on eBay because I wanted it for my collection. What's my favorite Apple product? That's really hard. I mean, I think the iPhone is one of the best products Apple has ever made, and I think it's one of the most influential products they've ever made. If you just saw my video, History of iOS, you'll understand what I'm talking about, how it's influenced not only the smartphone industry, not only the tech industry, but industries across the board. I mean, it's changed the way technology, it's changed the way we interact with technology. We no longer use styluses and cursors to interact. We use our finger, and more and more and more, the tech world is being built around that. So I think the iPhone is probably one of the most important products Apple has made so far. I do not have all Apple products. I just try to collect the most important ones. I have the original iPhone, original iPod, original iPod Shuffle, iPod Nano, and I actually just bought from Goodwill an original 1984 128K Macintosh with its original carrying case. So I'm really excited about that. It's being shipped to me as we speak. What motivated me to create a YouTube channel? Like I said before, I was obsessed with Apple. I was obsessed with Steve Jobs as a kid. And what I would do is I would use Keynote, the slideshow application Apple makes, and I would recreate Steve Jobs' presentations in Keynote. So I would recreate like him introducing the original Macintosh. And then I would make like 100 or 200 slides and then stand up in front of my family and then present those slides as if I was Steve Jobs. And I loved doing it. And through that hobby, I sort of gained skills with software. So I was using Keynote. I learned how to use that pretty well. I started using Photoshop. I started using Illustrator. And then I remember, I think I was on YouTube and I was looking for a video that showed every single model of iPhone ever made. And I couldn't find a video that featured what I wanted. Or I think it was the iPod. I wanted to find a video with all the iPods. And so I thought, well, I think I can make that with Keynote. It's kind of similar to what I've done before. So I just made the video that I wanted to see in Keynote and put it on YouTube just so I could watch it because I thought it was cool. And then it turned out that a lot of other people wanted to watch it too, and it got tens of thousands of views. But at the time, YouTube wasn't even monetized. Like they didn't run ads on YouTube back when I uploaded that video. That was almost 10 years ago. So it took me a while to understand that I could make money on YouTube and that I could make it a career. But once I understood that, I started focusing on it a lot more and trying to build up my channel that way. What did I do in college? I dropped out of college 3 times. So first time I went to college for acting. I did not like it, so I dropped out. I went back to college a second time for communication design. And I ended up not being happy. I just didn't feel like college was for me. So I dropped out. And then I ended up going back to become a ESL teacher, English as a second language, because I love Japan and I would love to live in Japan. So I was going to get a degree to teach English in Japan. And then that's when my YouTube channel like blew up and I started actually being able to make a living off of YouTube. And I started making more money than I would have being a teacher. So then I realized, why don't I just focus all my energy on YouTube full time and really try to build up the channel? Because this is like what I love to do. This is like a dream job. I never imagined being in this position. So then I dropped out the 3rd time. So I never graduated from college, but that's the story. Steve Jobs or Tim Cook? They're both incredible. They're different people. And I think Steve Jobs, I mean, he's an icon, he's a legend. There were good things about him and there were bad things about him. And the same thing is true for Tim Cook. But I think Tim Cook is doing an incredible job if you consider the big shoes he had to fill after Steve Jobs. So I love both. Do I have a Windows computer? No, I do not. Has Apple always been your favorite electronics company? Yes. I started getting interested in Apple when I was about 11 or 12. Have I ever been contacted by Apple? No, I haven't, which is a good thing and a bad thing. A good thing because they're not trying to take down my YouTube channel. So that's good. A bad thing, because I would love to be invited to a worldwide developers conference. That is like my dream that I don't expect to ever happen still, but if it did, I would probably just start crying. Uh, Potrix, Vecco Potrix. Did I have a second channel where I did keynote tutorials? Yes, and that channel still exists. I had a second channel where I made tutorials on how to use Keynote. It's not nearly as successful as this channel, so that's why I've been focusing on this one. Do I ever feel hatred toward Android? I don't. I really believe iPhone is not superior to Android, and Android is not superior to iPhone. They both have pros and cons. They both have advantages and disadvantages. Because if you remember what Steve Jobs said about products, he said that products are packages of emphasis. Some things are emphasized in a product and other things are not. And I think Apple's approach to smartphones and Google's approach to smartphones with iOS and Android represent two different emphases on smartphones. So if you want advanced customizability and you want access to things that iOS doesn't give you access to, then you should use Android. If you like tinkering on a deep level with your smartphone's operating system, Android will be good. There are some downsides to that. Fragmentation is a big one. Whereas iOS doesn't have a fragmentation issue, but it's not as customizable as Android. There's also differences in optimization with Apple creating their own hardware and Android or Google being open source. So there's pros and cons of each. I don't hate Android. When is 1 million subs? I hope to get to 1 million. I hope we get to 1 million subs within 3.5 years. I think we can do that. I'm not mad about Apple removing the headphone jack. It was definitely a controversial decision. And out of all of the I/O that they've removed over the years, the CD drive, the floppy drive, FireWire, headphone jack, the headphone jack was sort of the most controversial because people really do still use a headphone jack. And there have been times where I'm in someone else's car and I want to hook up my phone to play music through their speakers and I can't because I don't carry around the adapter. It can be frustrating sometimes, but I think in the long run, it'll play out the same way as every other I/O removal has for Apple. What do I think of Apple removing the startup sound on Macs? I think it's a good idea to remove it. But I think there's a way to get it back. I think it's silent by default now. But if I remember correctly, you can reactivate it, or you can do a certain key command while you're restarting the computer to make it still use the sound. Do I like Tesla? I love Tesla. I think Tesla is the Apple of the car industry, and I'm really hoping Apple goes into the car industry to compete, because now what Tesla has proven is that cars today are just computers on wheels. Electric cars are computers on wheels, and Apple is a computer company. They're a tech company. So it makes sense, but Tesla is so far ahead, it's going to be hard for any company to catch up. I think my first video, someone asked what was my first video. You can go and look through my videos and sort by oldest. I think it was the history of the iPod. If there was one thing I could say to Steve Jobs, what would it be? I love you. I just want him to know that I loved him. He had such a huge influence on my life. What are my hobbies? Other than YouTube and Apple, I love to swim. I swim laps. I love Mario Kart. I'm a huge Mario Kart fanatic. I play it every day for at least probably 2 hours. I actually recently went to a Mario Kart tournament, and out of probably like 30 or 40 people, I got 4th place. So I'm pretty good, and I love Mario Kart. How long does it take me to make a video? It really depends. If we're talking about the video essays, which I typically make, it can take anywhere from 8 to 10 hours, just depending on the process. Do I know of any other Apple-based channels? I mean, Everything Apple Pro is a channel I watch a lot. And there's just other YouTubers who focus a lot on Apple, tech YouTubers. And I mean, I like them all. I watch a lot of different tech YouTubers. What car do I own? Prepare to be impressed. It's a 2005 Toyota Corolla. Why do I have people vote on videos? Because I want to make videos that you guys want to see. And I want to have a connection with my community on YouTube. I don't want to be sort of in my own world in terms of what I think is important, what topics are important to me. I want to make sure that I understand the topics that you guys think are interesting. What TV do I have? If you can see behind me, my TV is right here. I recently moved into this apartment, and then I bought my TV. That's a 55-inch Samsung OLED TV, which I love. I only jailbroke one iPod Touch. I think it was the first generation iPod Touch, and I only jailbroke it because I had already moved on to like the third generation iPod Touch. And I just wanted to see what it was all about because, you know, back in 2008, 2009, 2010, jailbreaking was super popular and everyone was doing it, it seemed like. And I was like, what's that about? And I really wasn't into it. Like I jailbroke it and I'm like, huh, it's kind of weird. Someone said someone tipped me. Did someone tip me on this chat? I don't see where that is. I don't see. If you tipped me, thank you. I really appreciate it. You guys don't have to do that. I can't see right now where it says that they tipped me. So sorry about that. Do you think I'll run out of topics? That's something a lot of people ask. And I don't think so. I mean, I could talk about Apple all day because I love them so much. And the tech industry is so fast paced. There's always new rumors or new products or new software or new announcements. So it keeps it fresh and always keeps me thinking about new topics. I cannot code. I'm not a programmer. Do I have an Apple TV? Yes, I have 2 Apple TVs. One in my bedroom and one in my living room. I think Apple, someone asked, what do I think about Apple removing 3D Touch? Face ID is superior to 3D Touch in my experience. I have an iPhone 10. It is the most incredible iPhone I've had since my first iPhone. I mean, the swipe, navigation, Face ID. I mean, Face ID makes it feel like I don't even have a passcode because I literally pick up my phone and open it without any awareness that it's using my face to even unlock. Whereas Touch ID, it was a very deliberate gesture and a deliberate feeling that you were unlocking your phone. But now it's just so seamless, and I think it really improves the iPhone experience. Do I miss CoverFlow? I never really used CoverFlow. Even on my old iPhone when it was in iOS, I never used it. My sister used it a lot. So I never really missed it, but I know some people do. What do I think about iOS 13? I think iOS 13 is incredible. I think macOS Catalina is incredible. That whole WWDC that they just had was the best event in recent memory. I mean, it was incredible. They had so many great announcements. And I think the Swift UI was really underrated. I think it's going to have an incredible effect on the programming and developer community. Someone else tipped me, I guess. I can't see that. If someone can let me know how I can see tips, I would appreciate that because I really cannot see what's going on. Oh, maybe this button. No, that's to insert an ad. Oh, I'm sorry. I think I just put an ad in there. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Yeah, I don't know what I'm doing. Go to my chat. I see my chat, but I don't see any like tips. Okay, from chat settings. Chat settings. I don't see anything about settings. Yeah, I'm not seeing settings. So if you tip me, I really appreciate it. Like, genuinely, I just cannot see when it's happening. What's the worst Apple product? Mobile Me. If you guys remember, actually, no, I take that back. Ping. Ping, I don't know if you guys remember that. It was a social media platform that Apple made, and they put it into iTunes. It was not good, and they removed it like a year after, less than a year after they introduced it. How much money have I spent on Apple products altogether? I'm not keeping track, and I don't want to know, but thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars. Why did I start my channel? I kind of touched on that earlier. Oh, I can see the tips. Someone tipped me $5. Thank you so much. I can see it. Jumping back, what Mario Kart do you play? I've played Mario Kart DS, Mario Kart 7, Mario Kart Wii, Mario Kart 8, Mario Kart Deluxe, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. I mean, I played all of them. I love all of them. Thank you for the tip. I appreciate it. I was answering another question. Oh, why did I start the channel? Because I wanted to see a video that went through every single iPod model, and I couldn't find that video on YouTube, so I made it. It turned out to be pretty popular, and then it kind of just took off from there. If I were Apple, would I release an iPod in 2019? Apple is releasing, they did release an iPod in 2019, the new iPod Touch, so I would say yes. What do I think of skeuomorphism? It had its time. I think it was good in that the transition into touch interface could be difficult for people who aren't used to virtual buttons, a virtual interface on mobile devices. So it served its purpose, but I think it was outdated and it needed to be replaced. I'm one of the few people, I feel like, that loved iOS 7 when it was released, because that's when the flat user interface was introduced to iOS. I loved it right off the bat, although it was controversial. YouTube is my main job. It's also my hobby because I like doing it. It's like it's always been my hobby, but now because of you guys, because the channel's growth and performance, and the fact that I'm able to get sponsors now for my videos, which is incredible, I've been able to do this full time and make a living off of it. How was Steve Jobs a role model to me? I thought Steve Jobs was incredible because of his incredible work ethic, his focus to have a sort of a vision, a plan to create something, and then executing on it in an incredibly focused way. I mean, I admire that a lot. I have the iPhone 10. I have the iPhone 10. I love it. What do I think of MagSafe? MagSafe was great. It's not around anymore. I don't think it's that big of a problem, because actually what I've noticed is that if I yank out my cable from my MacBook Pro, the USB-C connector, it comes out pretty easy without dragging my MacBook. So maybe because of that, it became a non-issue for Apple until they got rid of MagSafe. And plus USB-C is it's becoming a standard port. And that's a big deal. I mean, that's never happened in the history of the tech industry where one port was able to be adopted by a variety of products. Do I like the notch? I love the notch. I do not understand why there is so much controversy about the notch when it was when the iPhone 10 first came out. And history proves that the notch was a good idea because so many other competitors ended up adopting it. So I love it. Promote my Patreon, Jason Williams. If you guys don't know, I do have a Patreon. It's in, I think, if you go to my channel page, there's a quick link to it on the right side of my banner. And for $1 a month, you can get early access to all of the videos I make. Plus, you can be part of a Discord where you can talk to me directly. So I don't do live chats all the time. So if you want to ask me questions and then have my attention, become a patron. Why did Samsung avoid the notch? That's a really good question. I think a big reason, well, I think on one of Samsung's phones, it has a notch. I forget which one, but the S10 doesn't. And I think part of the reason is just brand differentiation. They don't want to be confused with the iPhone, or they want to be able to say, we don't have a notch that's taking up space. I think that's a big part of it. How much do I hate Microsoft? I don't hate Microsoft. I honestly don't. I don't. I think their smartphones were awful. I think their mobile OS was awful. I think Windows, I don't prefer Windows, but there's a place for it in the market. I don't hate any company. Do I like Apple Card? I'm really excited for Apple Card. I'm definitely getting it. I cannot wait until it's released. I'm really excited about the spend tracking feature because I do my budgeting manually right now, and it takes hours, like every week, to do. So if it does that automatically for me and I can see all my data, that alone would be incredible. Do I have an iPad? And if I do, which model is it? I've had 2 iPads ever. The first iPad I bought was the 2nd generation iPad in 2011. And I didn't really use it that much. So I was never interested in buying another one or replacing it. So I ended up selling my 2nd generation iPad and not buying another one until this year when I got the new iPad Pro. And I love my iPad. I use it all the time now, in bed, on the couch, on the toilet. Like, I use it everywhere. I love my iPad Pro. It's incredible. Do I like Google Chrome or Safari? I use Safari, but I have to admit, sometimes it has trouble with certain web pages, and I have to go to Chrome as a backup. So I use both, but I mainly use Safari. Hold on, I'm gonna get something to drink. Give me 1 second. What features would I like to see on future iPhones? I would love to see that 120 hertz display, like what the iPad has. What else would I like to see? I mean, eventually it would be nice if the notch was smaller, or if it was completely gone. I mean, that would be even more beautiful. Is there something I don't like about Apple? Let me tell you something I don't like about Apple. Their accessories are overpriced. Their main product line is a very good value. The iPad is a good value. Their Macs are a good value. The iPhone, I mean, yeah, the whole industry is overpriced right now, but it's competitive to other companies. But their accessories, I remember having to buy a new power cable and power adapter for my MacBook Pro. And they sell the brick now separately from the USB-C cable. So I was spending like $80 on the wall adapter and like $30 on the cable. So I was spending like over $100 on a new power connector, and I'm just like, oh geez, Apple. What do I think about the butterfly keyboards? They're a problem. It's undeniable. It's one of the worst design blunders Apple has ever made. And they need to fix them. They need to completely redesign their keyboards from the ground up to make sure this never happens again. Yeah, SuperKid 542. That's good. I said I had no problem with the notch, but I would prefer if it were gone. I have no problem with the notch, but I would prefer if it was gone. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, the notch doesn't bother me. But if they could get rid of it, I mean, I think that's the ideal, because it is a compromise. The notch is a compromise. And one day they will be able to get rid of it, and I'm looking forward to it, because a edge to edge screen would just be magical. For college, what would I recommend? iPad Pro with a keyboard, an Apple Pencil, or a MacBook? It depends on what you're majoring in. It depends on what you're doing with it. If you're just taking notes, writing papers, researching on the internet, an iPad is fine. And I wouldn't even get the Apple Pencil. Oh, or what? Apple Pencil if you're taking notes, that would make sense. But if you're doing any sort of advanced stuff with your major, if you're doing any kind of Photoshop, video editing, graphic design, I would get a MacBook. Do I have HomePod? Yes, I have a HomePod. It's actually sitting right on my desk. I love my HomePod. I'm actually thinking about buying a second one so I can get that stereo sound feature. What's my favorite food? Right now, my favorite food is a place called Raising Cane's. I don't know if you've heard of it, but Raising Cane's has these amazing chicken tenders with this amazing Texas toast, and I'm obsessed with it right now. What do I think about the current generation iPad Air? It's a great budget iPad. I mean, it's a great value. Which iPhone model was the biggest milestone? The biggest iPhone release was the iPhone 10, apart from the original iPhone. Obviously, the original iPhone was the biggest release because it completely changed the industry. It completely changed our expectations of what a mobile smartphone was capable of. But the iPhone 10, it completely, rethought the iPhone, the concept of the iPhone. I mean, the way we interact with iPhones is different now because of the iPhone 10. Do I have an Apple Watch? I do have an Apple Watch. Actually, a funny story. This is my second Series 4 Apple Watch, because the first one, I was at the gym and I was in the shower after I swam laps, and I was stupid and I put the watch on a ledge, and then somehow it slid off the ledge. It smacked face down on the tile floor and it cracked. And it actually left a mark on the aluminum body as well as cracking the screen. So if I had just done a screen replacement, I still wasn't sure if it would still be waterproof because the aluminum body was damaged. So I just bought a new one. But that's how much I love my Apple Watch. But I did get Apple Care. I got Apple Care the second time I bought my watch, and I recommend Apple Care. What's my favorite non-Apple tech product that I own? I don't know if you guys have a Nintendo Switch, but the Nintendo Switch surprised me. I mean, it is incredible. The fact that you can play handheld video games that are console quality and then dock it and have that on your television and just grab it if you're going somewhere and you're in the same moment of the game that you're playing. I mean, it's really, really an incredible experience that I've never seen any video game company achieve before. So that's something I love right now. Am I planning on making a video about Google ending their tablet production? Yeah, if you guys haven't heard, Google is not making tablets anymore. And it's not a huge surprise because Android tablets are known to be bad. I mean, Android tablets are just basically jumbo smartphones. The software, the applications usually aren't optimized for the screen real estate, so it's completely pointless to have one, usually. And that's why the iPad is so dominant in the tablet market and hasn't had any serious competition yet. I am going to be making a video about why that is, why Android tablets are not competitive with iPads, and the whole history behind that and where it might be headed in the future. I am going to do a video. Do I like Minecraft or Roblox? No, I have played Minecraft before, but that was like, I played it like twice. I pretty much only play Mario Kart, Pokemon, Splatoon, and FIFA. All right, guys, I have to go in about 10 minutes, just so you know. Why did Apple release the iPhone XS when the iPhone X was good enough already? Slime Master, that is a good question. That is a very good question. The iPhone XS was the least impressive iPhone upgrade in the history of iPhones. I mean, period. There was a camera bump and a processor bump, and that was it. There was no headlining feature of the iPhone X. And maybe they didn't need to release it. I mean, I'm interested to see what this year's iPhone, what its features are, because last year was so disappointing and so underwhelming. They need to do something pretty major this year if they want to keep those iPhone sales up, because iPhone sales are slowing, and I think that's part of the reason. There's just not enough of a reason to upgrade when you're buying a $1,000 smartphone. Is there an AirPower alternative? This is a good question, because I've seen so many YouTube videos from tech YouTubers who are like, look at this AirPower alternative. It works great, and they keep comparing it to AirPower. And I don't think that's fair, because in the comments, people will end up saying, why couldn't Apple make this? Apple has billions of dollars in cash and they can't develop a wireless charger. What's up with that? People don't fundamentally understand what AirPower was and what technology was required to make it work by positioning all of your devices, iPhone, Apple Watch, AirPods, on the mat in any position and charge. There is nothing like that on the market. There has been nothing like that, because it cannot be done today. Apple thought they could do it, they couldn't. If Apple can't do it, no one can do it. And that's why no one has come out with a wireless charging mat that is like AirPower. The only ones that come out have 3 coils. You have to put your devices in a specific spot, just like wireless chargers have always been. And there's nothing similar to AirPower, period. Hopefully that changes in the future, but there is no AirPower alternative. There's none. You can buy wireless charging mats, but it's not an alternative to AirPower because it doesn't have the same capabilities. Apple Maps or Google Maps? This is actually a good question. I use Google Maps because Apple Maps doesn't have enough data to reliably take me from point A to point B without going up the wrong way, going the long way, or doing something weird that it shouldn't be doing that frustrates me. Although I like the user interface of Apple Maps better, Google Maps has superior data. And until Apple can match Google, I won't be using it, because the purpose of Maps is to take you the most efficient way, the quickest way, the way that makes sense and can avoid traffic. If it can't do that, then why would I be using it, despite all of its other great features? Do I think Apple will drop Face ID for a fingerprint scanner underneath the display? I think Apple will never have a display fingerprint reader. I think they're done with fingerprint readers. And I agree, because Face ID is magical. And if you look at the fingerprint reader under the display on the S10, I think it's the S10, it doesn't perform very well. It's passable, but it doesn't perform well. And its face recognition doesn't perform well. It's passable, but it doesn't perform well. And it's not nearly as secure as Face ID. And this is something Samsung has always had a problem with. Samsung tries to do everything so they can put it on a spec sheet and say, we can do unlock with facial recognition. We can do fingerprint reader underneath the display. We're better than iPhone. The problem is the fingerprint reader and the facial recognition are not that great. And it's not as good as Face ID because Apple focuses on one technology and makes it as perfect as possible. Because Apple isn't focused on specs. They're focused on making the user experience magical, because they know that when someone uses that device and they love it and they don't have any frustrations or issues using it, they're going to come back and buy another iPhone. The name of my second channel is called Create Effective Keynotes. Am I going to buy the Mac Pro? I'm not. I don't need that much power. My MacBook Pro is good enough. I would love to have it just because I think it's beautiful. And what I really want is the Pro Display XDR. I love the design. I've wanted an Apple designed monitor for a long time. The problem is it's $5,000 and I need the stand, so that makes it $6,000. And I would love if it was matte, so that makes it $7,000. So I am not going to spend $7,000 on a display when the one I have is totally sufficient. How do I choose the topics? I touched on this before. I keep up on tech news. I read rumors. I watch, all the tech events, Apple events, Microsoft events, Samsung events, and whatever's kind of going on that I have a question about. Like for example, when Apple announced their display with the stand sold separately, the first thing I thought was, why is Apple selling the stand separately? And then I thought, why is Apple charging $1,000 for a stand? That's kind of ridiculous, I think, but I don't really understand. So I wonder why. And then, so I'll take that thought and then I'll write it down and then I put it in the poll. And then depending on what you guys want to see, that's what I make. What am I drinking? This is my guilty pleasure drink. I only have it like once in a while, once a month. But today's a really good day. I'm really happy about today. I'm kind of celebrating the 300,000 subs. So I'm having my Monster Zero. Have I read Steve Jobs' biography? Definitely. I read it like 4 times. All right, guys. I really appreciate you guys being on here. I have to leave. I'm gonna go have dinner with my family at 5 o'clock. I appreciate you being here live. I can't believe we had over 200 people on the entire time. That's a lot of people. Thank you so much for being viewers, for being subscribers. Thank you so much for watching my videos. Thank you so much for everything you've allowed me to be, to do. I'm living my best life. I am like, this is a dream come true for me. I just can't express my gratitude enough. 300,000 subscribers. Never dreamed of being at 10,000 subscribers. Thank you so much. Again, if you want to join me on Patreon, you can ask me more questions directly and I'll answer them through Discord. I'll be releasing my next video about the Pro Display XDR. It will probably be up on Monday or Tuesday, depending on my schedule this weekend. But I might just take the rest of the day off, just like as a celebration. But thank you so much, you guys. Maybe we'll do the live thing more often, just because I didn't realize we'd have so many people and I would get so many questions. I'll see you guys later. I hope you guys have a great weekend. And thank you to everyone who donated. I really appreciate it. Have a nice weekend.